if Jagmeet Singh has the confidence in what he's saying, if he believes in his own policies, if he believes that quadrupling the carbon tax is what Canadians want, let's let the people decide. Let's stop talking about parliamentary procedure. Let's stop talking about when a non-confidence motion might be tabled or not. Let's go directly to the people, offer them the choice between hiking the carbon tax and axing the carbon tax, and let the people decide.
Respectfully, Mr. Scheer, he's looking at the same polls you and I are, which show that your party would form government. And the conclusion he's arrived at is it might be better to support the Liberals and keep them in power than have your party be in power. And with all due respect, you didn't answer the question about the accusation that the Liberals and NDP have leveled at you, which is fair in many respects, that you would erase a lot of key programs that have been put on the table for Canadians, because you have also made a promise to bring the budget back into balance at some point, to eliminate a $40 billion deficit. You have not specifically outlined what you would do. I know you keep saying you're going to do that closer to a campaign, but if you want to go to an election tomorrow, don't Canadians deserve to know tonight?
Well, Canadians absolutely deserve to know a political party's platform before they vote, and that is what will happen. But, you know, the NDP do this all the time. Canadians are forced to cut back every time they put, a roast beef back on the grocery shelf, every time they skip a meal, every time they turn the thermostat down. Canadians are making cutbacks in their lives because of government-caused inflation and high interest rates. So more of the same from Singh and Trudeau will just cause more austerity for Canadian families, more cuts to Canadians' quality of life and standard of living. And we're seeing this in more and more data that's been coming out this summer. We're falling further and further behind the United States. More and more Canadians saying they're going to have to move out of their homes because they can't afford their mortgage. And let's look at where Singh and Trudeau want to keep spending. We've identified lots of waste and mismanagement. The NDP and Liberals will always want you to believe some kind of doom and gloom if any kind of fiscal responsibility is applied to government. They're okay with Canadians cutting back as long as government gets bigger and more bloated. There's a $35 billion infrastructure bank that hasn't completed a single project. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been funneled to high-priced consultants like the McKinsey company. Sole source contracts going to Liberal-friendly corporations. Those are lots of low-hanging fruit.
But you know as well as I do, Mr. Scheer,
we're going to eliminate that waste and corruption. That's how.
Yeah, pardon the interruption. You know as well as I do. You read the budget very closely. The big line items that impact the overall deficit are things like dental care at $4.4 billion, the Canada Child Benefit at $25 billion, child care at $8 billion. You cannot simply eliminate the deficit by getting rid of a $60 million ArriveCan app or all the hundreds of millions of dollars that are spent on consultants. That will eliminate one-time costs, sure. It will not eliminate those big line items. And it also doesn't answer the question that your opposition has put on the table for Canadians, which is this next election will be a choice between removing the programs they've come to rely on and keeping them.
Well, first and foremost, I don't just scoff at 60 million here or 100 million there. That all adds up. They're also not one-time costs.
Not to 40 billion.
Liberal corruption is liberal corruption is a yearly event. It is a recurring item in every budget we've ever looked through since Justin Trudeau took office. There have been hundreds of millions of dollars in waste and corruption. There's been billions of dollars in big programs that don't deliver any results. And you're talking about a couple of programs that I'll address specifically. You know, the infrastructure bank costs $35 billion. That's not a small amount of money. It's completed 0 projects. That's an easy item that we can take off the books and put back into relief and getting back to balanced budgets. Many of these other Liberal programs as well, the school food program that leaves 92% of school children out, a farmer care program that is not providing coverage to most Canadians. Most Canadians are very happy with their hard-earned farmer care plans that they've won at the negotiating table. So again, we see governments spending billions and billions of dollars. Trudeau is spending billions and billions of dollars, racking up those line items, borrowing money to pay for these programs that are keeping inflation high, keeping interest rates high, and aren't actually delivering results to Canadians. So, as I said, we're going to be very
interest rate has just declined for a third successive time. Inflation is within the target range.
No, but you and I both know, Vashi, that inflation is still making prices go up. Prices are still going up. The inflation that
at a normal rate right now,
so much havoc on Canadians are still being felt at the grocery store, at the hardware store, because those prices aren't coming down. They're just, this is the thing about inflation, is that as long as Justin Trudeau keeps making prices high with his massive amounts of spending and borrowing, Canadians aren't going to see those prices come down. It still means that their paychecks have been completely devalued. That's the devastating impact of 9 years of Justin Trudeau and sellout Singh being right there along with him to demand more government programs that have devalued workers' paychecks, meant massive price increases, and caused so much austerity and cutbacks on Canadians. Conservatives are going to offer a different approach. We're going to axe the carbon tax so prices can come down, get the government back on to fiscal responsibility, to put an end to the waste and mismanagement so that prices can stabilize, workers' paychecks go farther, and we have a country where Canadians can get ahead again.
Okay, and I take that point. I just have time for one really quick other question, and it's directly to the point you just made around essentially the Trudeau spending causing all of the economic ills that Canadians are facing. The parliamentary budget officer, whom you very frequently reference when you're talking about the carbon tax, stated very recently in his analysis that the current fiscal policy at the federal level is sustainable over the long term. He estimates that the federal government could permanently increase spending or reduce taxes by 1.5% of GDP while maintaining fiscal sustainability.
Yeah,
Why is he okay to reference on one side, and he's right in analyzing the carbon tax, but your argument is totally counter to what he's making here? What expertise do you have that he doesn't?
Well, look at the word sustainable. All sustainable means is that the status quo will continue. So if you're satisfied with the status quo, if you're satisfied with workers' paychecks not being able to put food on the table, with homeowners having to sell their homes to downsize because they can't afford to renew, then go ahead and support Justin Trudeau.
Good answer.
Sustainability
but I don't think that's what the parliamentary budget officer is saying.
Is
He's just saying
different.
It's not all Trudeau's fault.
No. Sustainability for the government is much different than sustainability for people. And what we're hearing from coast to coast, when our leader Pierre Poilievre meets with workers, when he meets with tradespeople, what he's hearing is that this government's economic approach is not sustainable for working families, and that's the difference. If Justin Trudeau wants to campaign on a government report or talking about how he can continue taxing and spending and it won't cause the government itself to go bankrupt, well, millions of Canadians are going bankrupt or moving out of their homes or skipping meals, then I welcome that debate in the next election. Because what we know is that Canadians are falling further and further behind. They're struggling. They're facing incredible hardship. And all Singh and Trudeau are offering is more of the same policies that caused the problems in the first place. Conservatives are offering relief and prices and interest rates to come down because of a responsible fiscal approach. Relief by removing the carbon tax, getting government out of the way of free enterprise to provide economic growth that makes companies compete more for workers' wages so that wages go up. And when they work hard for those wages, it can buy more than it can under Justin Trudeau. So more of the same with Singh and Trudeau, a fresh approach with tax relief and price stability and lower interest rates with the Conservative approach.
I look forward to all the details of how that will happen. Mr. Scheer, I appreciate your time as always. I'm out of time. Thank you.